remove all of the execution, what makes Kazuya difficult is not the execution, it's the game plan. And the game plan is always more interesting than a sequence of button inputs. That's why I prefer having bigger side steps than bigger backdashes. Because honestly, this is a brain-dead sequence. Get a hitbox, just spam backdash, and you just move away. Sure, you pressed buttons quickly, but I'm not sure that's more interesting than someone going into a match and having in-depth character knowledge. What's up guys, TheMainManSWE here, hoping you're all doing awesome as always. I'm gonna do a video reaction. I have a bit of a cold, so my voice is a bit off, but we're gonna watch the intellectual failures of FightingGM. You can tell immediately it's a Nova Saiken video. I don't know, he comes off as edgy to me, like Socrates wannabe. He always tries to use big words all the time, and I'm just like, just go with normal English, buddy. I gotta say, I've watched a lot of videos by GM where it feels like he's just rage baiting all the time, and a bit clickbaity content. This guy sucks, but he has a lot of good takes on the game. I think I've heard him have some good takes. Ultimate proof Tekken 8 is not a legitimate experience, so it's not legitimate. Okay, so we're gonna listen and see what's up. It's my chat wanted me to watch this.
This is the aftermath of my video called A Technical Showcase on How and Why Tekken 8 is not a legitimate Tekken experience as of yet.
I don't understand what that means. It's not a legitimate Tekken experience as of yet. I wish he would just say straight away, just because of this, He said it in his previous video. I hate YouTubers like this who speak in a very mystic way and very slow. I wish he would just recap quickly. I don't think it's legitimate because ABC, and then you go with your video. This guy is the notorious Jin down player. I can't take this guy seriously ever since he said Jin's hell sweep is reactable. Ever since then, not a single word out of his mouth can I take seriously. He did give us a timestamp to skip the intro, so here he'll start. We'll go here.
They took away from the defender.
Dear Lord, the quality.
To space himself away from the opponent and create.
Audio went down as well.
Alright. You see how he's doing this, right? This like
I can't hear a thing now. He hasn't leveled the audio on the video. When you edit videos, it's very good to open up all of the audio layers and make sure they're in sync, same audio level everywhere. So he hasn't done that.
You cannot disengage and create this essential whiff. Thanks for proving me right, bro. Steve couldn't always do this as you claimed.
Oh, wait. So the big dick measuring competition here is GM says when Steve is bum rushing you with 1-to-1 flicker mix-ups, you can't backdash away. You can't do it in Tekken 8 and you can't do it in prior games. But here he says, Nova Saiken says, I can backdash cancel away in Tekken 7 and hit him.
You would eventually space him and kill him for it. We have to start from the obvious premise. This video absolutely wasn't about Steve. This video absolutely wasn't about Jin. But he completely
you need the patience of a goddamn saint to listen to these videos.
Failed to grasp this premise. He proved to be completely incapable.
This is just one of those professors I had in tax law where you just looked around and you saw 300 students like this. Like, he was very good and knowledgeable. It's just that he talked so slow. He would insert 5 completely unnecessary sentences into every single point he made. And you would just go like, can you speed it up? I'm dying over here.
Thinking about game design on the most...
Okay, wait. I guess we can crank up the speed a little bit.
It's a complete failure of imagination. He completely failed at abstract thinking. There's no abstraction at all. And this...
This is what I'm talking about! Even when you speed it up, he's just gibberish. His mind has failed him. His mind can't comprehend the light and the darkness. He cannot see the matrix for what it is. It compounds upon itself.
This is a bad example though, because this move is 0 on block. So since you know the string,
it's just a huge word salad.
No, you absolutely cannot duck flicker 1 up 1. Actually, every single move from this loop jails on the first hit, so you cannot duck any of them on reaction. That's misinformation number 1.
But so is this the video? In Tekken 7, the backdash is better. So you can, if you have extremely strong execution, you can backdash out of 1-to-1 flicker mix-ups. I mean, yeah, backdash is nerfed in Tekken 8. But I also find it interesting that he's showing it with Jin, who has a notoriously bad backdash. What does it look like on Alisa, for example, or Fakum Ram has a strong backdash? Dragonov, like what would that look like? But also, if you watch competitive play of Tekken 7, when Steve is bomb rushing you with 1-to-1, blah, 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 he doesn't have to go into flicker. He can go into peekaboo and start checking with forward 2. Like very, very long range stuff. Or rocket launcher. I didn't see pro players in Tekken 7 just backdash cancel, Steve pressure. You don't really do that. More so you block or you try duck, like you don't step, but I'm not entirely sure people try to backdash cancel into an electric punish. People just don't do that.
The best bet is to high crush him to get away with it. You could just hit him out of it.
Yeah, high crush is a 100 times better option against Steve that people will use. A low that evades highs just blows up Steve. Which is why Fengwei was such a terrible matchup for Steve in Tekken 7. And just everyone who mained Steve just opted out of that matchup and had a backup character because it was impossible to play. Because Fengwei presses a button and he evades highs and Steve doesn't function anymore. Also, punch parry. Punch parry against Steve, much better option.
You could do any high crush. Like if somebody just doing like that, because Steve is all highs, you could either punch parry, you could punch parry or high crush that, man. That's what you just
Exactly.
You see, the video barely even started.
That's also what Fengwei's would do, or all the other characters. They try and punch parry Steve or high crush him.
Giving unsolicited advice. You haven't even seen anything yet, but you're already giving unsolicited advice. Because your need should be so condescending. To talk down to people completely takes over. You cannot control yourself.
I mean, everyone here, we are listening to you. It's just that backdash cancel you showed, like, that was probably at its peak in like Tag 2. It would be very risky to do that with Steve because the backdash is so fucking strong. They just move away. Or Tekken 5. But I'm not sure Tekken 7. Here I would agree with GM.
To talk down on people.
Although I agree with Nova Saiken that the backdash is nerfed, of course, and sidesteps buffed. But Jin has a notoriously bad backdash. Have you seen Ulsan on Dragonov? Like, bam, 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 he just disappears. You don't think Ulsan could backdash cancel away from this Steve shit? Of course he could. So it's very character specific in Tekken 8.
Right from the beginning.
Yo, my man. All that stuff jails with Steve in every game, son. Like, this man is like complaining about like stuff that Steve always had. All that stuff jails with Steve, brother. Can I duck on reaction? You never could duck. That's the Steve Fox stuff, boy. Like, that's not Tekken 8.
Exactly. You could never duck his jailing strings. These are traditional properties of Steve's strings. But there's one thing I could do against Steve, which is disengage from him. Space myself away from him to play at my desirable range, where his frame data doesn't entirely dominate mine. But you don't seem to understand that. I never once said you could duck his jailing strings in the past. I never once said that. This is textbook Strawman's fallacy.
Noah Saiken always strikes me as a Tekken player who doesn't fully understand the game. And just like a lot of Mishima players, he's completely obsessed with execution. And for him, the biggest skill expression and the only thing that exists is strong mechanical skill doing a super fast backdash into a perfect electric. That's to him like, that's Tekken. It's not strategy, it's not mind games, it's just execution. Moving like a robot like this. Duria, like that's peak Tekken. And there are people who agree with that, I don't. And I just feel like Tekken 7, you could backdash out of a lot of situations, and I'm not sure that made for a better game. I love Tekken 7's gameplay, but just being able to defend by simply mechanical skill was not that interesting to me. Just move away or Magic 4. I'm not sure that's super interesting, you know.
And why that is a problem? Because when you're dealing with a character blessed with a frame data that allows him to do shit like this, and this,
Lock down laterally. But that's the whole point of Steve. That's the whole point of Steve-O. He locks you down. He tracks like a madman. It's more about game design. If you're skilled enough to Korean backdash, you should be able to opt out of offense. The thing is, a lot of people have a very superficial understanding of what skill is. Oh, what's so difficult about Kazuya? Electric. Or a backdash is what's difficult with Tekken. I guess it's because everyone understands mechanical skill and execution. Everyone grasps that. It's much, much harder to understand Tekken. It's gameplay. Remove all of the execution. What makes Kazuya difficult is not the execution, it's the game plan. And the game plan is always more interesting than a sequence of button inputs. To me, at least. That's why I prefer having bigger sidesteps than bigger backdashes. Because honestly, this is a brain-dead sequence. Get a hitbox, just spam backdash, and you just move away. Sure, you pressed buttons quickly, but I'm not sure that's more interesting than someone going into a match and having in-depth character knowledge. Knowing how to move, when to backdash, when to sidestep, step left or step right. Against Asuka, option selecting her offense with step right duck, step right duck. That is 100 times more interesting to me than someone just playing Zafina in Tekken 7 with a hitbox, backdashing out.
I use this move in the example
Yeah, it's
precisely because it is fast. And I wanted to showcase how dangerous Steve is on close range. By outspeeding me by 1 frame in that interaction, he was able to counter-hit launch me. The worst outcome that can happen in the Tekken.
So his point is Steve is so deadly up close with his frames, back 1, and space control that we should be able to back away with a strong backdash. That's it.
Franchise. I specifically use Jin's Magic 4 precisely because it is fast, and I wanted the spectator to understand the danger involved in interacting with Steve on close range.
Because of how dangerous he is, I stated that you must disengage to operate at a desirable range where Steve's weapons do not work, but yours do. I wasn't
You must disengage. Steve is so dangerous that you always have to move 3 meters away. So he's far away. Good luck doing that in pretty much any Tekken game. I almost want to boot up Tekken now and show Steve's rocket launcher, or his Sonic Fang, or his 1-to-1 peekaboo forward 2. Like, if Steve doesn't want you to disengage, have you seen his Albatross 2? It's a 10-meter heat engager that's safe. I mean, if Steve has a brain and he sees you're just mindlessly backdashing away, you think he can't touch you? With Wild Running 2, Rocket Launcher, Peekaboo Forward 2, like, Albatross. He has a million options for that.
complaining that Steve back 1 is a counter-hit launcher, for God's sake.
The rewards you get from said interactions are completely disproportional to the disastrous outcomes in case you get them wrong.
I mean, I agree with GM. It just sounds like he has beef with Steve. He says the video is not about Steve, but it's all I see on the screen. If I can't back away from Steve, he's super OP, and I get blown up. Isn't that what he's saying?
Your rewards are 10 times worse than his rewards if he gets you instead. What happens is you get destroyed, bro. That's what happens.
What?
The entirety of this video will be based on one premise, and I'll take it upon myself to prove this premise is true. Because by me doing so, everything will become clear, and you guys will finally understand what is going on here.
Okay, this is gonna blow our minds.
I will make one statement, which, so does happen to be a bold statement.
Yes.
But I'll take it upon myself to prove it, and I promise you guys, it will become clearer and clearer, to the point in the end, you will be absolutely positive about it. My statement is, FightingGM completely fails to understand Tekken outside of the conveniences of his own character, Lee Chaolin. And that is precisely what makes him such a terrible analyst.
That's a pretty big statement, considering he's one of the all-time Lee players, you know.
Look at his footage. Within seconds, you will realize
he's a very, very strong, you know, pro player.
So ain't nobody ever taking that away from him.
That's a big statement, I gotta say.
Now, wait a minute. Let me be very clear. With the responses GM provided, I can conclude with absolute certainty and absolute conviction that he is incapable of understanding the intricacies of the game Tekken as a whole, beyond and devoid.
But I mean, so far, Nova, you're simply talking about backdash canceling into a punish or backdashing away from Steve, whereas GM is actually talking about all the core mechanics you can apply. I mean...
And of course, you can always gamble. Swig it to strike is...
That's another thing. You see how he says you can always gamble? Doing that punch parry with Steve, with Jin against Steve is not really a gamble when everything he has is punches. So you're going to be able to deal with like more than half of his moves just because you punch. So it's not really, it's kind of in Jin's favor to do a parry.
So it's that easy, huh? You just go YOLO Jin's punch parry, and it has to work on Jin's favor, right? After all, Steve uses punches, right? So what could go wrong then? Nothing can really go wrong, right? An available option, but the parry frame window is so tight that it will more the parry.
I mean, of course everything can be punished. If Steve has a read on you doing a punch parry, of course he can blow you up. And if you sniff that a Yoshi is going to do a flash, you can visually recognize he flashed and whiffed and kill him. this doesn't disprove GM's argument that punch parries are very strong against Steve. So he's saying parries suck because Steve can bait the parry and kill you. Yeah, of course.
Let's see what the man has to say about Steve versus Jin in particular, which wasn't the point of the video, but will still work from that, just to showcase how out of depth and out of touch.
He has spent 70% of this video just saying, GM is out of depth, GM doesn't understand, he can't fathom this, he's so bad, he doesn't understand Tekken like I do, oh my god, he doesn't get it, he's so dense, blockhead, stupid, he doesn't get it. And I'm like, can't you just skip all of that and just just make your point? Now he's gonna call you stupid, just like he's been... Dude, this guy's called me stupid for what, 5 years now? Ever since Tekken 7. I'm a manipulative, psycho, sociopath, narcissist that lies and...
Oh, you're not.
Well, it's not very nice.
I will address this bullshit piece by piece.
No, I think in one of his videos, he had a picture of me in the middle, and then he did his, like, wall of text next to my face, and it just said, like, psychopath, narcissist, liar, and I was just like, it was unsettling. I was just like, what is this? Like, are we gonna talk about the game, or like...
Now, you magically realize there are dire consequences to mistiming a sabaki parry, and that each specific punch demands a specific timing. So it's not just punch parry, bro, as you claimed beforehand.
But of course, it's just not spam punch parry all the time. If you could just mindlessly mash your punch parry and Steve can't do anything, is that a balanced game? Fighting games are built on reads, mind games, outplaying the opponent, getting a read. What is he gonna do now? Recognizing patterns. Of course you can't just spam a sabaki 24/7 and beat a Steve. Of course not! And I don't think that's what GM is saying. GM is saying sabaki and punch parries are valuable against Steve, which they are. How is that hard to grasp?
To believe it was, but we will go even further. You know, back then, I kept wondering, how did you have the audacity to casually claim, just high crush, bro, just punch parry, bro, just challenge him, bro? It makes one wonder.
Because there's strong options. Against Steve, ducks are strong. You're not looking to step or backdash that much, depending on the range. Any good player will tell you, I would just block because he doesn't have much of 50-50 or, you know, shit like that. Outside of Lionheart, obviously. You're looking more to high crush, sabaki him if you can, play with a lot of patience. He's not that scary if you're patient. Like, those are all very, very legit options.
But do you know who can, quote-unquote, parry every single move, disregarding specific timing? Li Chaolong. Oh, it is so on, man. I'll prove how out of touch you really are in these matters.
Dude, Lee's parry has like 50 frames of recovery. If you just throw that out, and any decent Steve player is gonna go, oh, he likes the parry, he'll go into stance, not do anything, and then now he can just up to DP you and launch you. But Lee's parry is strong against characters that like to punch a lot, especially when Lee has his back towards the wall. But if you read that parry, Lee dies. He dies.
You see, suddenly, magically, the just high crush, bro, starts to make a little more sense, don't you think? But it goes beyond that, way, way beyond that. If I get my down 4 blocked, what do I pay for it exactly? Wildman punish.
So unless you get a huge combo, there's no value in trying to do high evasion against Steve. I mean, if that's your logic, I don't know what to say. Those of you who recommend that I watch this, like, go fuck yourselves. Go fuck yourselves.
Are you starting to see a pattern here?
This video is fucking brain cancer. This is brain.
Why
Why did you feel I should watch this?
Everything for you, giving you the French
this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen.
Your lead
he uses really big words. He's trying to sound like fucking Gandalf with the voice and the big words, but it amounts to fuck all. Doesn't matter if you use big words if there's no substance behind what you're saying.
Doesn't personally affect you in any way.
Why did you continue watching? Because it's like watching a fucking airplane crash, a plane go down at like 500 miles an hour into the ground. So Lee has a better matchup against Steve. That's the gist here. Yeah, in Tekken 8, Lee has a good match against Steve. But I mean, Jin is Jin. That's the video. We watched 40 minutes. This could have been a 2-minute video. Backdash, I like backdashing into whiff punish. Why can't I do that more in Tekken 8? Steve is very annoying up close. High crushing has no value unless you have a low counter hit launcher that evades highs. This could have been 2 minutes.
With an extremely fast, evasive low while counter-hit launching him in the process. I wonder if you would start appreciating the importance of being able to disengage and work on different ranges if you had this privilege taken away from you. It's quite convenient for you to state, "Oh, just guess, bro."
Yeah, Lee players are extremely privileged in Tekken 8. It's a bit interesting hearing that from a Jin main. I respect Jin players, you know, there's work there, but you are 10 times more privileged than your Lee brothers.
Since you are intellectually incapable of understanding Tekken in a conceptual level outside of a Lee-focused lens, it's only natural that being forced to interact with your opponent.
The fucking balls on this guy to say GM doesn't understand core Tekken. Nova, just to recap for you, what GM is talking about is core Tekken and its many possibilities. What you're talking about is playing Zafina in Tekken 7 with a hitbox, mashing a mechanical sequence, and you just disappear. Is that interesting? I don't understand how GM can sit here and explain all the counterplay to Steve, and all you hear in your head is that you should be able to backdash away and electric punish. And it's very nice to see you do that in practice mode. Is that what you're gonna do when you go up against a strong Steve online? What are you even talking about? I should always be able to spam my parry. I should always be able to spam my backdash so Steve can't do anything. Would that be a good fighting game? Say you got the game you wanted, backdash is twice as long. Would that be a great fighting game if you can just backdash away from every type of offense, mindlessly backdash, backdash? Is that a good fighting game?
A great option you could try, on paper, is sidestep left, low parry. Moving left is the only way to evade flicker 1 jabs. This option would cover and kill other Steve likely and interesting options such as peekaboo 2 or peekaboo down 1. Well, it would be a shame if he had a safe mid variation that will always kill sidestep into duck and is also a...
Well, that's the whole point. Characters need to have mix-ups. I mean, what you're talking about is like a Tekken game where homing attacks don't exist. All attacks are linear, no homing attacks. You should have an option select that beats everything. You should just be able to step left and no one can do anything. That's what you're saying here. Of course, Steve has an option to beat you if you do step left duck. Of course, can you imagine if he had nothing he could do? And you could just step left duck and beat everything he does? I mean, Steve would be unplayable. And what you're doing wouldn't even be impressive because it's completely brain dead. You would just step left duck, step left duck, and Steve can't do anything. Is that impressive? But that's the whole point of competitive games, right? It's mind games. So if Steve thinks you're going to do that, he can do flicker 1, forward 1.
a counter-hit knockdown. But not only that, having multiple options to kill, sidestep into duck. The only way to stop this mid-variation, flicker 1, F1, is through a sidewalk, which is pretty much everything Steve wants you to do. If you roll
this video is unbelievable. Breaking news in fighting games, there are option selects. And there are things characters can do to try and counter the option selects. Characters can try and counter your counter if they have a read. Breaking fucking news, everyone.
That's it for today. I am deeply sorry for having to halt my schedule because of this, but it had to be done. I really had no choice. I was able to clarify my intentions.
I'm sorry if GM called you a scrub, you know.
Video
maybe shouldn't do that,
the next
but
video will be a massive
this
nuke.
video
I'll be
ain't
addressing
it, man.
lateral movements.
Jesus.
So stay tuned, guys. I promise you will not regret it.
Oh my god. Jesus.